This is what confuses most men. He's jacked, he's wealthy, he's disciplined, and yet in his relationship, he's hesitant, anxious, and deferring. This is not a contradiction, it's compensation. And if you're a high-performing man who strangely feels underpowered at home, this episode is for you. You're listening to the Be Better podcast. I'm Harrison Orr, and after coaching almost 500 men, one thing is painstakingly clear. Unless you can stay grounded and present in your masculine energy, no amount of external stress will allow you to lead yourself and your relationship the way that you desire. And so, in this episode, I want to do something different to what I've usually done. I want to do a bit of a case study, if you will. So you may have seen, other people online do breakdowns, right, of certain things that they've seen and what they would do in that situation. And I want to do something similar. Recently, I saw a video of a guy by the name of Alex Eubank, and he is a fitness influencer, for lack of a better category, right? He's got millions of followers. The dude walks around at 6 to 8% body fat. He's jacked. He's got the body most men dream of having. He's got a hot wife who makes millions of dollars as well, more than him, so I've been told. And in this video, she is saying that she feels like the fucking man because she had to book the date. She had to speak to the guy to organize the tickets. She had to plan all these things. She had to make the decisions. He was feeling anxious about waiting in line or about going. She was the one that had to calm him down and regulate his system. And it was giving her the ick, right? And because she's feeling like she's the masculine one. And I want to be crystal clear. Like, this episode is not an attack on this guy by any stretch of the imagination. This is simply a psychological case study, because what I see in him, in the brief clips that I've seen, especially this one, I see in a lot of other elite men. Guys that are physically dominant, financially and business-wise successful, very publicly disciplined, like they've got power and status, but privately, in their relationship, in their marriage, they are unsure. They're relationally inverted and just nice guys, right? That's the separation that I see so often, is like these guys that are so elite externally, but then such nice guys in their marriage. And this is the mistake that a lot of men make, is thinking that masculinity or that type of alpha status, that power, that masculine confidence, that energy is something that they will achieve once they get to a certain level, right? Once they've got a certain amount of money, once they've got a certain type of body, or just a certain level of output, right? A certain level of life. And so this just proves that it's not. It's built through capacity. Like, if you don't know who this guy is, just go and look him up. Alex Eubank. Alex, then Eubank. Dude is physically elite. He appears very financially successful. He's got a strong work ethic, both physically in terms of his gym and his training, even in business and the content that he makes. He's very high in terms of his external order, right? The way that he presents himself, the way that he looks after himself, very disciplined. But the contrast is then the decision offloading in his marriage. Oh, I don't know, babe, whatever you want. Like, the people pleasing seems anxious under that uncertainty, right? He doesn't know how to regulate his own system, so that his partner has to do that. His partner has to be the anchor of their energy, the stability, the safety, which, when that emotional containment is outsourced to her, she feels like the masculine. She feels like the provider. And I don't mean financial provider, but I mean the provider of the stability, of the safety, of the trust, of like all these things that the masculine energy is supposed to bring to a relationship. And some people will be fine with this dynamic. Like apparently 10% of the population are happy with the reverse dynamics. Like, the female is happy in her masculine essence and the man is happy in his feminine essence. But if you're, and there's another 10% which are just completely neutral, right? So if you're in the 80% of human beings on Earth, then you fall into the category of men being masculine dominant and females being feminine dominant. And it's when we get out of balance with these two, or one seeps into the other, that we start to have issues where his partner gets the ick, or you're headbutting because you're both trying to be masculine, or you're pushed out of sorts. And this situation, right, is very common with a lot of high performing nice guys, because you might see nice guys as being weak or pushovers, but this just proves that you can be an elite and a high level man in business and financially, and like all external metrics, having high levels of self-discipline, high levels of conscientiousness, even high public confidence. Like, it takes a lot of confidence in yourself to show your body off like that, to make all the content, to talk to the cameras, to vlog your life, right? Like, not a lot of people have the type of confidence to do that. But there's also the other end of that spectrum now that shows there's a low emotional sovereignty, right? He's relying on his partner to regulate him. There's a low level of decisiveness as well. Maybe a fear of wanting to get it right, wanting to please her, to do everything that she wants to do to make her happy. And through that approval seeking, through that conflict avoidance, right, maybe masking as consideration or being chill, is not grounded, right? It's actually quite feminine, and what creates that barrier. And that's where women can't relax. Like, she even says it in the clip, like, I feel like I'm the fucking man. She feels like she has to manage him. And so, again, the intention of this episode is not to shame this guy, but I want to highlight this. So if you're on your way up in life, then just to know that the body or the finances or any of that external status won't equate to the man that you want to be. And if you're in that position, you've got the body, you've got the business, you've got the finances, you've got the hot wife, you've got all the external things, then you would know that doesn't correlate to being that man and having that type of relationship. And I want to walk you through now, if I were coaching him, what we would do, what I would do with him that shows that it doesn't matter what level of external success that you have, that this framework is still the exact same. So the first intervention has to be, without a doubt, nervous system authority. Because at the moment, like, you could go deep into the psychology of it, and I have this belief that most successful people, whether it's athletes or in the business, generally operate from a position of lack, right? Very rarely does their initial drive to become that great and that obsessed with their mission come from a place of passion. It comes from proving something, right? They didn't feel good enough. They didn't feel confident enough. They were put down as a kid, or they struggle with control, like being good enough as they are. So they try to control all their external metrics, right? If I can control, what my body looks like, if I can control my finance, if I can control all these things, then I will feel safe. Just a quick announcement, guys. If you are a high-performing father or a successful business owner who's built the life you said you always wanted, and even a life most men would envy, but deep down you feel like something's off. Your drive and fire is just your marriage just feels stale, your energy's just not what it used to be, or maybe you're still stuck in the nice guy syndrome, but you're ready to lead with real presence and confidence again. Well, that's exactly what I help men like you to do. So if you're ready to take action and want to know if my coaching is right for you, either scroll down to the show notes or go to my Instagram page, The Elite Father, and click on the link tree to apply. You've built the business success. Now let's build success where it really matters. Now, back to the show. But we know that that's illusion. And so like the insecurity of ourself gets masked in where we project ourself and our energy. So the first piece is a nervous system authority, right? This is learning to regulate that anxiety, regulate that energy, right? It doesn't matter how well you can step in front of a camera, how well you can perform in the boardroom, how well you can manage conflict with clients, with other businesses, with people in that space. It's a different level of regulation for yourself when you're in an emotional exchange with the person that you love most. They carry a level of weight, of power that nobody else on this planet will. And so that's why for a lot of men, these nice guy traits come out even more, right? The avoidance of the conflict, the wanting to solve the problem, because if I can fix her problem, then I am worthy, then I have a job, then I am useful, right? Or if, her emotions are somewhat directed at me, I need to justify it. I need to come up with an excuse or a story, because if she finds out that I'm not as good as I portray I am, then she might leave me. She might find out that I'm a fake, or go down that whole self-deprecating spiral. So the first part is this nervous system authority. This is being able to switch gears, essentially, right? And it's not about control in this space. It's about, first of all, yes, being able to bring yourself back into that state. But when there's the uncertainty of your partner's emotions, the uncertainty of life, being able to recognize that and switch down a gear, right? Being able to slow it down, breathe, stay present, stay there, and lead yourself through that discomfort, right? Without needing somebody else to say, it's going to be okay, I've got you. With being able to do that for yourself. This is training internal safety, right? Internal regulation. Because when we create internal safety, internal trust, internal, essentially, ultimately love in ourselves, the less we rely on external sources to do it for us. The less we need to rely on, ultimately, minimally, eventually, the less we need to rely on our partner or on external or material success or output or validation to tell us that we are safe, that we are good enough, that we are loved, all these things. And when we get to that place, that's when we're able to, what people term as, create a safe space, right? A lot of people use that term, you're like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, I don't hit my partner, I don't do anything, I'm not abusive, I don't yell. Like, what do you mean a safe space? Safe space refers to your ability to regulate your own emotions so that when she's anxious, when she's stressed, when she's highly emotional, when she's got whatever going on, she can express that in her fullest. She can express her truth in its fullest and know that you are going to stay grounded. You are going to stay present. That ultimately you can fucking handle it and you're not going to justify. You're not going to jump in and try and fix something that doesn't need fixing. You're not going to go into fight, flies, or freeze mode or just completely disconnect and she's going to feel like she's alone in it. Like, she's going to know in her heart and in her nervous system that he's here and he's got me, and be able to fucking believe it. That is what creates trust and safety in a relationship. And that's something that is felt, that no amount of words can prove or sway. So that would be phase one. Phase two is the decision reclamation. Learning how to make a decision and be okay with navigating a rejection, navigating a no, right? Because to get to this level of success, he's been rejected. He's been knocked back. He doesn't lack competence. So if you're in this position as well, this level of business, you've been rejected. If anyone's had to do any form of sales or outreach or even content, you've copped some hate. You've copped some rough comments. You've copped some just rude people. And so it's not a lack of competence. It's ultimately a lack of ownership in this space. And that might sound brutal because a lot of people with such high degrees of external success and physicality will say like, oh, I own everything. Like, you listen to Jocko Willink, or I've taken extreme ownership, I'm disciplined, I eat these foods, I stick to my diet, I am regimented about what I need to do for the business. Yes, they are very much like masculine, hard, logical pieces of ownership. Now we're talking about a realm where a lot of men struggle. Like, this is hard for men. Like, when we talk about doing the hard work, hard is going to be different for everyone. Talk about, running 500 miles to David Goggins, and he's like, that's not hard, right? That's going to be fucking breezy for that dude. You talk to some dude who's 50 kilos overweight, that's going to be every other human on the planet, I should say, that's going to be very hard. But for most men, talking about their emotions, and I don't mean oversharing, but acknowledging that, okay, if I get this wrong, what does that say about me? Like that story. Because a lot of men run that story of, if I get this wrong, if I make the wrong decision, she's not going to like it, therefore she's not going to like me, therefore she's going to want to break up, therefore I'm not good enough, therefore my world ends, and we go down that spiral. So instead, we need to kind of take back those reins, take back that leadership. And this doesn't mean you need to take over her entire life and decide everything. It's not a dictatorship. It's providing direction. It's not using permission-seeking language. It's decision and then leadership, right? And this is what restores that polarity basically almost immediately with consistency. Like, initially, for sure, there's going to be some pushback because, of course, she's not going to trust you initially to lead, because why would she? She's had to do it this entire time. So it's going to be like, okay, prove to me that you can do this. Prove to me that I can give the reins back to you as much as she fucking wants to, right? She wants you to take this back. She wants you to be in the masculine. She wants you to provide direction, do all these things. But you need to earn it, just from a safety standpoint, right? It's the same if there's someone new in your business. As much as you want to say, like, awesome dude, take over my whole marketing department, I'm fucking sick of this. You can't just give them that on their first day because they say they're ready. Like, they need to earn it. They need to prove that they can keep the ship running, that they can make everything happen and keep everything progressing forward without the wheels falling off, right? Same thing. And so when we're making those decisions, it's a common nice guy trait is, okay, I've made the decision, and she says, no, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like that. And without the nervous system regulation, without the redirection or the expectation of this coming up, they then go into, oh, fine, whatever you want. What do you want to do then? Or, I don't even know why I bother. Get reactive and get defensive, as if it was a personal attack, right? As if she's saying no to you in general as a human being. She's just saying no to that idea, to that suggestion. Grounded masculine presence is being able to take that and redivert it. Okay, you don't feel like Thai for dinner? Amazing. How's Italian, right? No, how about Mexican? You know what we haven't had in ages? This place, right? Redirection, and taking it personally 0% of the time. Now, once we've regulated the nervous system, we've started to make decisions, most importantly, act on them, follow through as well, right? Because it's not just making these decisions, it's the follow through, being impeccable with our word. Like, yes, you've already shown that you can be disciplined and impeccable with your word in every other aspect, but this is where it shows up at home. This is where, arguably, it matters the most. Phase 3 is anxiety exposure without performance. So here's anxiety is not weakness. Everyone feels anxiety. Everyone feels emotions. Emotions are not weakness, but the way that you manage them can be. So instead of getting anxious and then either having to default to training, having to default to his partner regulating him, or his partner having to tell him what to do, or calm him down, allow him to enter situations where outcomes are unclear, where he doesn't feel like he's in his realm of expertise or of confidence. And this is what separates someone who is contextually confident, right? Someone who is confident in a certain arena, right? Someone who is very good at business will be very confident taking a sales call, in a business meeting, structuring a deal. Someone who's incredibly fit, spent hours and decades in the gym, can be incredibly confident in the gym, but then put them in a situation where they are not as experienced, don't have those reps, don't have those hours and don't have those area of expertise and don't know how to play out the outcome that they want, that confidence dissipates. So what we start to train is our confidence within ourself, like our self energy is what we're talking about here. And that's our ability to stay calm and grounded without certainty in the expectation. It's like I can face uncertainty and I'm confident in myself to figure it out. I don't know how this conversation is going to go. I don't know how this experience is going to go, but I back myself to use my brain to communicate, to navigate this and move through it. Right? It's not about optimization. It's not about preparing excessively and mapping out every single possibility, not being able to kind of over-explain yourself. Just allowing your nervous system to feel somewhat comfortable in the uncertainty and learning that you will not die when you don't have control. Because if we're being real, control is an illusion. The things that we actually have control over in life are very, very little, basically none, versus the things that we do have control over. And when we can surrender to that idea and focus back internally on the things that we do have control over and our ability to navigate that, that's where that true confidence comes from. The confidence from, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I back myself to figure it out. I can ask questions. I don't mind being wrong. I don't mind asking the silly question or being rejected by my partner or any of the other stories or things that come up in stopping us from leading in this space. And then the fourth phase. So far we've regulated the nervous system, so he's got authority there. We've spoken into the decision reclamation, so starting to make decisions and back that up with actions. Then exposing his anxiety exposure without the performance. So creating confidence in uncertain environments. So trusting himself and regulating himself in those moments so that obviously he can lead himself and then he can lead his partner. And then the fourth phase is relational leadership. This is the one that a lot of men want to skip to and want to be able to lead their partners. I want to just be able to tell her this is what we're doing and then she just follows. And if you haven't had any of this trust or this back proof, you're going to get met with resistance. And then a lot of men say like, oh, well, my partner's just a bitch, or she won't let me lead her, or go into some victim story. But leadership is not about force. It's containment and direction in that space. So what he's going to need to learn is to stay present while she's emotional, right? While she's having her ups and downs, like everything. If they eventually have kids, go through that whole pregnancy roller coaster, the newborn phase, like the whole thing. Learning that those emotions aren't for him to fix. He's not there to soothe them. He doesn't need to over-explain or to do anything a lot of the time. That's where, you've heard me use the frame, babe, do you want to be hugged, held, or helped? If you're unsure. But the feeling that you can give her in those moments of grounded presence, I'm stable, I'm not fucking going anywhere, I can handle it, is what makes her relax, is what makes her melt back into you, is what, regardless of your financial situation, regardless of how many millions you make, regardless of how many millions she makes, right? A lot of guys, and I definitely used to be like this, I would think that if my partner makes more than me, then that emasculates me. And then I need to make more because otherwise I'm not the man and all the other things. But that does not matter, right? What actually matters is how you show up in this. There are so many relationships where the woman can make more than the man, but because the man is so secure and confident in himself, as soon as she steps in the door, she steps out of that business, that realm where she does make all the money, into their dynamic. He's in charge. Not because he forces her, but because he's so confident, grounded, and masculine in his energy, she can relax. She can kick off her shoes. She can melt into him and allow him to lead her because of who he is and that energy that he brings, not because of the status, the power, the money that he's got, but because of who he is. when he does that, she no longer has to be the man, has to be the adult in babying him, in managing him, and looking after him. And that's what makes attraction return. That's what creates the polarity in the relationship. And so the takeaway from this, regardless of where you are, the real lesson for men watching this guy is that money will not fix polarity. And if you're already making that kind of money, you would know that hasn't fixed your relationship. Maybe you can afford a better therapist, or buy her some fancy toys when you fuck up, but it will not fix the polarity and the underlying imbalance of masculine to feminine energy. The muscles, the body, whilst they are nice to look at and they might be nice to fuck every once in a while, do not fix the masculine confidence or the presence that she truly desires. And the power and the status externally will not compensate for an unstable nervous system, or a nervous system that collapses every time those emotions enter the room, every time there is uncertainty or there are things that you do not feel safe to handle. If anything, the status, the money, the power just hides that problem a little bit longer, right? And so many men will just say, like, I've got this thing, why isn't it not enough? Because it's not the right thing. Like, they're apples, right? And they're great. She wants some apples, but she wants oranges. And until you learn how to grow those oranges, they're still going to create that gap. And so that relationship simply exposes that gap. And you can either be the man who just works harder, works on a better body, and says, like, when will it be enough? The common nice guy belief of, okay, well, this isn't enough, I must do more. Failing to realize that it's not what you're doing is not enough, it's you're doing the wrong thing. And so it's not about becoming more masculine. It's about removing what's blocking it. And for men like him, men like you, if you're making the millions of dollars, you've got the stacks, you've got the business, that block is not laziness or weakness. You've got the core resources, right? The work ethic, the discipline to nail this. It's over control and under presence. So when you can regulate your nervous system, when you can make that decision, when you can integrate these parts of you that have been blocking you from leading from that grounded, confident, masculine place without the certainty, without the approval seeking, then you will feel the success in your marriage and in your soul that you thought you would by achieving this level of financial success, this level of business and external success. And that's it. So this has been a different style of episode. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but if this has resonated, I would love to hear from you. Don't be sorry, be better, and I'll see you guys next time.